here. My name is Mike Schneider. I'm State Senator, District 11 until November. And then I'll be retiring after 20 years in the legislature.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
For retiring. No good deed will go unpunished.
That's right. And by the way, you're sitting in my district. This is part of Senate District 11. So I'll be moderating the state and Senate races today. And we do have a list of panel members today. Let me acknowledge who they're going to be during the day. It's Rob Lauer, former U.S. Army. Jim Jonas, he's an activist and radio host. Karen Steelman, auxiliary director and radio host. Leo Betnitsky, U.S. Coast Guard. Dr. Richard Hawkins, attorney. Bruno Moya, U.S. Marines. Melody Howard, U.S. Army. William Brown, attorney. Travis Barrick, attorney. And Rowena Richards, co-founder of the Shine Foundation. And today on the camera, we have Karen Steelman and Steve Sanson. And the doors, retired Army Lieutenant Colonel Ed Cotton is manning the door. So with that, today on our first panel here we have Gregory Hughes and State Senator John Lee, who John has been in the Assembly, I know, and now the State Senate for 2 terms. So with that, I'd like to open it to questions and start with Travis Barrett.
Thank you.
Mike.
Why don't you use your microphone so it can be on recording?
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Hire a vet, right? Hire a vet. What do you say, Mr. Lee?
I think that anybody with that kind of experience in leadership obviously is looked at very closely by people who are hiring people, especially in this day and time. There's a certain amount of intellectual ability that now these new recruits that go into the Army have, the maturity that they have, and I wholeheartedly look forward to hiring any vet I can that's came out of the military with the training it needs to go into the business field that I'm in.
Mr. Hughes.
Hiring any vet, I'm a veteran myself, so I was looking for a job when I came out. So hiring any veteran that comes out of the military has the experience, has the ability to do the job, we know. So I would wholeheartedly support any business that was hiring vets.
Okay, follow up then. A fair proportion of vets coming back from the Middle East right now are arguably unemployable because of whatever their experiences were. Will you sponsor legislation to make it easier for veterans to start their own business?
Yes, two reasons. First reason is because they are veterans, like you said, and a lot of them think that they're not hireable. I personally have been over there. Just because they ran around with a gun shooting at people does not mean that they're hireable. They have experience. They have the experience of working for somebody. So I don't believe that they're not hireable. I just believe that people are putting that sign on them. And second of all, getting a business started in the economy that we have right now would be perfect. I mean, we need to hire more people. Our unemployment rates are still low in this state and in the country. So yes, I believe that I would support any legislation for veterans that want to start businesses.
Senator Lee.
Travis, that's great. We had this conversation up in the state legislature, and we have right now bid preferentials for contractors who have the ability to prove that they had been a vet, whether it was for a week and something happened to them, for 20 years. So in the state of Nevada, we do recognize that experience, and we do allow for it. And I know that one time it was thought to maybe be expanded even if you had been handicapped because of the war. But I think that it was opening up a whole bunch more discussion at the time, so that the bid differential stayed there, and that discussion is still ongoing.
Thank you. Just one quick follow-up then. As a state senator, what can you do to loosen up county government from giving veterans preferences? Because if the counties aren't making accommodations, what can you, as state senator, do?
Well, Ed, when you're elected to Senate District 1, basically you respond to your constituents and to the whole state. And being chairman of government affairs, it's almost like I'm the mayor over local governments, cities, counties, water districts, and all those kind of things. We put on the books laws that we think recognize everybody in the state of Nevada and things that ought to be there. If the county's not following those state laws, there's a legal term called writ of mandamus that you can force the county to actually do what government is supposed to do. So if you find those Travises that they're not doing and following state law, you have the ability to force them to the writ of mandamus rule.
Just a quick follow-up, you, Mr. Hughes?
Well, the same question.
Yeah.
Well, I believe the same thing. If the counties aren't complying with it, I'm sure there's something in the state legislature as far as county budgets. You know, there's a number of ways that we can make the counties do. I'm sure. I'm not a state senator yet, so I'm not up on all the things that can be done, but I would support anything that would force the counties to hire veterans. I wholeheartedly agree with that.
Okay.
Well, before the question, a quick note on time. You'll have a minute generally for your responses and a shortened time less than that for if there are follow-ups. This will start beeping at 50 seconds and the moderator will electrocute your chair or something when your minute is up. I'll count down about your last 5 seconds. Also, we usually give them a minute to introduce themselves.
I was gonna do that, yeah. So if Mr. Hughes, you could give us a little quick minute resume on yourself.
Okay, well, I was 24 years in the United States Air Force, retired honorably from out of Nellis Air Force Base. I lived here, I actually lived in California until I graduated high school and went in the Air Force. My parents moved out here, so I just kind of became a citizen around 92 in Vegas. I came back, I would stay here from time to time with my parents. After that, after retiring from the Air Force, I have been doing Air Force contracting for a company in the state of Nevada. And basically, I still go overseas. I go to Kuwait, I go to Afghanistan still. So I still work with the military.
I would attest that my resume isn't as illustrious as his. I was born in Middlesex, England, Rice Air Force Base. My father was also military. He was in the CIA. And when Francis Gary Powers got shot down over the Soviet Union, we were detached with him, or his troop or whatever. And they quickly sent us to Roswell, New Mexico, where we worked there for a period of time until we moved to Area 51. And that's how we got into this wonderful location. Being a son of an Air Force enlisted man was a great experience. I had all the privileges of the base. But, you know, I have a great love and concern for our country and for the people in the service. But I would tell Mr. Hughes he has a far better resume than I do. But I don't think he does when it can explain to you that he loves his country more than I did. But he definitely has put his life on the line for it. And I appreciate that.
Thank you. Melody, Howard?
Thank you, gentlemen, for attending today. Senator Lee, you mentioned the writ of mandamus, and I know that there's several people that I'm associated with who are very discouraged by the fact that we do not have as many charter schools as are allowed pursuant to Nevada revised statutes, particularly in Clark County. And all of the charter schools we do have long waiting lists and lotteries. What can we as a community, or what can you as a senator do to assist us in maybe obtaining one of those writ of mandamuses against Clark County to establish more charter schools?
Well, and Senator Snyder, if I say something that's wrong, you correct me. I mean, he has a lot more experience in certain areas than I do.
Okay.
I know that at the state legislature, we oversee the whole state budget. We have the Nevada plan. Every student in every county gets the same amount of money. And when we give them their budgetary money, it basically goes down to them, and then they figure out what they're going to do with it. When it comes to putting in charter schools and those educational opportunities, I'm not exactly aware of what the laws are. I know in North Las Vegas we have, I think, 2 of them right now. Another one that just was formed. I'm a big proponent of those kind of schools for certain families who want that education in certain areas. But I don't understand the issue well enough to tell you if they are not doing their job. But I could be educated on that one, Melody.
Mr. Hughes?
Okay. As the senator said, he doesn't have that much knowledge. I'm pretty not knowing anything about what this writ is, but as far as education is concerned, I know that a lot of it comes, a lot of educational things come from the budget. Everybody keeps talking about money. And I know as a state senator, we don't tell the county school districts or any of the school districts how to spend their money, we just give them the money. But we can mandate something that says that the money is not given always to the administrators. The administration portion of it, we should be giving more money to the schools, I believe. So getting more money to the actual teachers and the schools and not the administration. I think for public school, but also for charter schools as well.
Ms. Howard, you had a
Just a quick follow-up. You mentioned, you want to give it to the administrators, but most of the charter schools, they determine how their money is spent. Is that what you're saying? Do you agree with the principal being allowed to spend the money how they feel where it's needed?
As far as the principal, yes. As far as the principal is concerned, yes. I think that the school's principal should be.
Senator Lee?
And Melody, you're right. Up north, the Associate General Contractor started a school with the idea of having more people who could be engineers and architects. And they're giving a certain amount of money. They're overseen by the school district. They have to comply with Nevada law. But they can move curriculum to certain areas to give those students the advancement that they want in their future career fields. I agree with that.
Great, thank you.
okay, Mr. Brown?
Thanks for being here, guys. I want to preface my question with something I received on Facebook. It is a picture of a tombstone on what I presume is a veteran's cemetery. And this is what it reads. A gay Vietnam veteran. When I was in the military, they gave me a medal for killing 2 men and a discharge for loving 1. I want to ask about gay marriage. You've served in the military, and I realize that the military's official position has changed somewhat with respect to people who are openly gay serving. But I want to ask you what you think about a country who would ask a man or a woman to go fight and die to protect freedoms for a country he or she returns to and doesn't allow him to marry the person he loves because he or she happens to be the same sex.
When I was in the military, I agreed with don't ask, don't tell, only because on the premise of that I don't believe that openly gay people should be telling us that they're openly gay. Anybody can serve. I shouldn't be telling anybody they can't serve, okay? So openly gay, it doesn't matter, okay? As far as marriage is concerned, I believe the same thing. If you love somebody, it shouldn't matter who it is. It shouldn't matter who it is. Just like gays should be able to serve in the military, I believe that gays should be able to marry. I'm not a legislator to go around telling people what they can and can't do. That's not my job.
I pretty much understand that's a federal issue when it comes to the military. We don't have any really jurisdiction about it. But I think your question probably more is, where's my stance on gay marriage? Would that be your question?
That's exactly right. That's a state issue, of course.
Yeah.
Could you bring that?
I've always been, excuse me, Stephen?
Hold it to your mouth.
You want me? I've always been a very religious person, and my teachings were the inspiration I got from the religious leaders I have. That marriage is between a man and a woman. I have never told anybody what to do, what not to do. I've always felt that on this question outside of the marriage of being able to go see people in the hospital, being able to cohabit, and all that kind of stuff is none of my business. But I've always been principled in my religious background to say that marriage is between a man and a woman, and that would be my stance on this issue.
You understand, follow-up question, you understand that if and when you are elected, you will presumably place your hand on the Bible, and you will swear to uphold the Constitution of the state of Nevada, and presumably the United States of America. So you swear to uphold the Constitution, not the Bible. You understand that?
We're about 15 seconds.
When I put my hand on the Bible, that is just a formality to say that I hold this oath to be as close and dearest to me as anything else, and I have our Creator to recognize that. So when it comes to the Constitution, I believe that states have to follow the Constitution. And so if the Constitution says something, then that's what I'll follow.
Even if that's inconsistent with what your religious beliefs are?
I don't have an option. It's really not my option at that point.
Fair answer. Thank you very much for that answer.
And we have time for one question for each.
Here in Nevada, we have the Veterans Courts, which specifically specializes in adjudicating members of the armed forces who have problems with drug addictions and misdemeanor charges specifically. Would you expand that jurisdiction to other offenses that are related specifically, that can be connected to PTSD and other traumatic brain injury cases beyond just those specific drug and misdemeanor charges? First to you.
Oh, okay, that's fine. Is it always going to be me first, and we don't care?
No, we're inconsistent.
I think drug court's been an extremely valuable concept that has come through, and I don't remember the judge's name who did this, but it seems like there's segments of society that seem to have certain individual challenges and problems, and they have unique characteristics about them. If the district attorney's office sees a huge amount of activity in a certain area, I think it's behooving upon him to decide that's what we need to do. Then from the community, it gets raised up to the state level to say, we'd like to enact laws, make changes, do things like this, to give due process these kind of people. And I've always supported the judicial branch on things that they thought was right to work with the citizenry in their area in the state of Nevada.
Would you support additional legislation to expand
Yeah,
this jurisdiction?
as long as it came up through the ranks, through the legal profession and judges and stuff, I would.
Thank you.
And I would believe in expanding it, yes. If it was found that the PTSD by a certified person that knows what PTSD is, not saying that there are people that know exactly what it is and what causes it and everything like that, but if it was through Veterans Affairs or somebody like that that said, the doctors knew PTSD, because I have a problem with some other things where we start spending more and more, we're putting more and more money into things that there's a lot of people out there that don't really deserve the kind of money that we're giving to them. So if it was certified PTSD, yes, I would. Or any kind of combat-related problems that they would come back with, yes.
Thank you.
Okay, we are at our time limit. And so I'd like to end our panel discussion here. Thank you, gentlemen, for attending. And go out and enjoy your afternoon and color Easter eggs.
Thank you. Appreciate it.